Is the enjoyment of the game the same whether your team wins or loses? I mean, in terms of what happens to your body?
Look, we want to be on the edge of our seat, right? And that really, the reality is that people enjoy games, even if the team loses, as long as it's, if it's close. If we're really wanting to know what's going to happen. And so, the point that you're making, or that you're asking about, basically, is actually the winning and losing isn't as important as, despite what we think, for a fan, as much as, is it exciting? Right? Is it the edge of the seat type game, like we've been seeing over even the game that we talked about that Charlie mentioned? So it's really about are people on the edge of their seat? Are they really into it?
And it creates community.
It creates community, which has a positive effect. So these cardiac, the cardiac results of actually having that stress for some people, especially of an issue, is to be considered. But also, it's a huge protective factor overall for people to watch, be a spectator or a participant in sports.
Jonathan Fader, good to see you. You should have seen what happened with Charlie and Gail when they watched the end of Breaking Bad.
Yeah. You can call me anytime.
That was bonding. Nora, that was bonding. It wasn't Joe or Charlie. That was bonding.
That was bonding.
Yes.
There's definitely Breaking Bad stress. What will you do when you choke? You talk to any athlete, like you guys are talking about. You talk to any athlete, you say, okay, when things get rough, what do? Why try to shake it off? That's not an answer. Trying to shake it off is not an answer.
So
you have to have a method.
What do you do? Give us
the simplest way to do it, the very simplest way for a high-performance athlete is to focus on your breathing. It's the same for everything else.
Amen. That is
focus on your breathing. It's so easy. It's so easy. You look, I tell every professional athlete, if it can't be put on one page as a technique, don't do it. Okay, because I work with elite performers in every arena, first responders, you name it. If you can't say it in a few sentences, don't do it. Simple. Breathe and learn how to breathe correctly in a scientifically proven way.
From your stomach.
Exactly. Diaphragmatic breathing, breathing in and out at a 4 count. Know how to do that. It's very easy to learn. I could teach you guys in the break, and I could teach anyone in 10 minutes. Focus on your breathing. Center yourself. These techniques have been way before people like me, experts in sports psychology.
Show us how to do it right now.
All right, let's do it. Ready? You guys ready?
Yeah, we're ready.
Here we go.
I need this.
Here we go.
Me too.
So what you want to do is really, we know that breathing is relaxing if you can breathe more or less 6 breaths in and out per minute. Now, it's impossible to do that. The way you do that is by counting, right? So we just count 3 seconds or 4 seconds in breath. We'll do 3. 3 seconds out breath with a 2 or 3 second pause. Ready? Okay. So in to the 3-1,000. Well, hold on a second. Hold on. You guys are really excited. Hold on a second.
Don't stop.
On the count of 3.
Stop breathing.
1, 2, 3. In 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Out. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000. Pause. In. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000.
This is good. This is
out. 1,000. You got to commit. Got to commit.
Yeah, I know.
Got to commit.
I can't do that on the New York subway. If I'm breathing in that much on the subway.
Like I said, be careful where you breathe and what you breathe in.
Exactly.
Some people refer to it in terms of a computer analogy. Okay, we have a software and a hardware. We're born with this hardware. We're like this computer, and some people are born with an excellent operating system, able to do all kinds of crazy things, and some people are not. And then we're applied this software, our training, and that can or cannot bring out that power. You can't motivate a computer. You can't teach a computer certain tricks. It can't go beyond the human potential's mind for motivation, for concentration. And so where the psychology of it lies is that there are certain people that are going to be able to be committed, to be diligent, to have a passion that goes beyond what a computer would do. Which comes first, success or confidence? Right? It can be that you have success and that builds your confidence, or you have someone who comes to you in life, Professor X, for example. In the sporting world, a coach who comes to you and says, I see this in you. And that changes your whole perception of what you can do. And then you have success, which builds confidence and wins. Most people, if you talk to them, professional athletes, have people in their life who've really nurtured that plant. They've fed it, they've given it water, they've put it in the right amount of light. They've paid close attention to that desire to be an athlete, and they've reinforced it. One of the strongest factors in peak performance is confidence. And I would say self-expectancy, what you expect from yourself. Many athletes who are exceptional do think somewhat highly of themselves. And you know, the ones that are successful long-term in sports figure out how to modulate that and understand how to deal with that they know they're special. The mental aspect is what allows people to put themselves beyond the other player or their opponent, is to be able to say, wait a second here, I'm capable of this small edge here. And if I really work to train my thoughts, I'm going to play at the top of that edge. You know, sometimes in terms of peak performance, what you need to really do is let go of the outcome and just focus on this one very moment.
I think there's a difference between respect and fear. So, you know, my kids have total respect for me, and we use effective methods of discipline. We use timeout. And let me tell you, when the words timeout come out in my household, everything shuts down. Yeah. So there are other ways to say, hey, listen, this is the final line, and you don't have to use physical force. I don't want my kids to replicate that behavior, and I'm not advocating for that. So if I'm going to discipline them for hitting each other, I'm not going to do it to punish them.
Jonathan, Tom, thank you so much for this healthy debate.
For more of the potential hazards of binge-watching television, let's go to New York, and clinical psychologist Jonathan Fader joins us now. So, Jonathan, let's look at the health risks. Are there unique problems associated with binge-watching television, or is it just sort of a concentrated version of watching too much TV? You don't get exercise, you don't socialize.
Well, that's a good question, John. I mean, what we know about binge watching, it takes a little bit of a different form than regular watching, in that you're right. I mean, you see the same risks as you do in terms of things associated with depression, anxiety, but also really the health risks of being sedentary, sitting in your seat. The difference, I'd say, in binge watching is that really the way that television is available now, people can really get sucked in for many, many more hours, so it makes those risks that we're familiar with exponentially greater. What's different about TV is, one, it's accessible in the sense that it used to be you'd wait for a week for your new show to come out, and now you just press a button. There's almost an unlimited supply. And two, what we know about the newer dramas that are coming out, you mentioned Breaking Bad, is they're very character-based. And the story goes on and on. We want to know what happened to our character. And if you combine that to some of the information you mentioned before, I mean, if we are depressed, if we are lonely, these shows become a way to escape and a way to create the kind of social environment through the TV that we might be seeking otherwise. So we all love binge watching, but I think, you know, you raised some good points about that.
Is there a safe level of binge watching? Is it like safe level of drinking alcohol?
That's a good analogy. I mean, going back to the idea, does binge watching cause depression? I say no. However, you know, if you are depressed, if you are anxious, well, what's the treatment? It's certainly not going home and watching 10 hours of TV. So we know that there are risks to that type of TV watching, and what I'd say is in moderation, just like anything else. You know, if you're going to drink 1 or 2 glasses of wine, you're unlikely to experience some of the risks that you would if you drank 6 to 7, 8 standard drinks per occasion. So it's using the same kind of moderation that you need for other kind of behaviors that are potentially addictive. And we know that TV watching is potentially addictive, especially binge watching. So it's using those same moderation tools that you would with other behaviors that have these health risks.
You don't have to be athletically inclined to learn how the pros keep their focus on and off the playing field.
I think the most fascinating thing about athletes is how much they prepare for the moment. Every moment on the world stage is important, and they have so much dedication to the work that they do that they really practice. They don't only practice physically, well, they practice mentally.
Psychologist Jonathan Fader is the author of Life as Sport. He works with athletes, helping them mentally prepare for the challenges they face, and says the same things he teaches them may also work for you.
Your ability to really prepare mentally and to face adversity with the highest level of objective optimism, positivity, but fact-based positivity, is going to really help you to have the highest level of confidence. And the more confident you are, the better you're going to do at your presentation.
Fader says people who aren't getting what they want might have better luck if they focus on a different angle.
We all focus on the outcome, on results. We want results in our work and our relationships, and results will come. But what we learn to do in our work in sport and performance psychology is focus on what we can control, what we do and what we think.
Dr. Fader, thank you so much for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me, Derek. It's a pleasure to be here.
So the first question I have is, you know, in our research for this, we were finding that internet or tech addictions or obsessions are not seeming to be really recognized by the psychiatric community as legitimate mental illnesses. Can you give us a clarification on, is this something real, or has the medicine not caught up to the affliction?
Well, I think the way you put it, Derek, is really a good way of pointing it out. That, you know, just because we don't have it in our diagnostic and statistical manuals yet doesn't mean that it isn't something significant and to be looked at and seeing how much it's impacting society. So yes, there's a bit of a lag. It hasn't officially received diagnostic criteria, although many people, including me, see it in their practices and treat it as another kind of addictive behavior.
And talk to us about what you're seeing. I mean, because I think a lot of people will hear about, tech addiction, they'll laugh and then they'll giggle to their friends, and then they'll go back to checking their text messages on their phone and seeing who caught up with them on Facebook. What is a manifestation? How do you know when it's a normal behavior, you're being social, you're hanging out, and when it's becoming a problem?
It's a wonderful question, Derek, and I think the way to put it is, does it in some way negatively impact your ability to function? So are you seeing some kind of significant impairment in your functioning with your relationship at work? When that stuff starts to happen, then you have to wonder, is it time to see a professional and talk those things through? Mm-hmm. So I think that's really what we look at, is some kind of impairment in someone's life. For example, is your husband or wife or your partner complaining that, every 6 seconds, as you were talking about during the break, is your loved one looking at the phone?
Hello and welcome to Health Talk. I'm Dr. Manny. It's not enough for professional athletes to be in top physical form. They must also be in top mental form, too. These athletes use mental skills to prepare and perform better than anyone in the world. So, how can you use the same skills to improve your own performance at work or at home? Here to tell us is elite sports psychologist Dr. Jonathan Fader. He's also the author, Life as Sport: What Top Athletes Teach You About How to Win in Life. Great book. I love the title, Life as Sport. Look at that. It's a beautiful, beautiful cover. So, Doc, you work with a lot of professional athletes. You work with a lot of celebrities and entertainers. What do you see? What is the common theme that a lot of these people have in regards to mental attitudes, mental challenges that they see every day?
Well, I mean, the common theme is when you're the best, which elite performers are, you're really competing against the best. And these professionals, whether they're performers or they're really in sports, they're looking for that edge. They're looking for the thing they can do to get better. And often that edge is how they train, they prepare mentally, how they train their thoughts and their behaviors to be ready for adversity or to compete.
But when, let's say you're in the top of your game, and you're working in all cylinders, sometimes you're sort of competing against yourself.
Oh, yes.
Because you say, how can I top this, or how can I maintain that?
Yes.
So have you seen that in some of the people that you have dealt with?
Absolutely. Manny, I love what you said, working on all cylinders. And that's what you see. Even at the top of the game, sometimes we're not working on all 6 or all 8. We're working on just a percentage of that. And what mental skills training is about, it's about making sure that you are working on all cylinders at all time. It's not about necessarily fixing a problem. It's about mental conditioning. It's like curls for your brain.